Gotten back on the Sunday morning Western bandwagon. I kind of fell off a little bit in May because the first Sunday in May was during the TCM Film Festival, and then I just kept like working and other things on weekends, and so Sunday mornings got a little crammed. But this is the first Sunday in June, so I'm bringing it back, and hopefully it'll stay for the rest of the year, except maybe November. Um, Here's hoping. That said, I wasn't able to get my butt down to a Videodrome, so I rented a movie on Amazon. Sorry, Videodrome. I will start renting from you again real soon. That said, I looked on Netflix and there wasn't like their Western selection is really shitty. So Amazon, on the other hand, has quite a few films. So I rented one starring Rock Hudson because if I'm going to hop back on the Sunday morning Western, I might as well hop back on the Rock Hudson bandwagon as well. This one was directed by Raoul Walsh, who's one of my favorite directors. He has an eye patch, and he's one of many directors with eye patches. But his eye patch story has to do with while scouting locations for In Old Arizona, which was a film he didn't end up finish directing with Warner Baxter. It's a really great film. A jackrabbit either jumped through. I like to think the jackrabbit jumped through a windshield because it's very Monty Python, but in reality, I think the jackrabbit just jumped in front of them, and then they swerved, as you do when jackrabbits jump in front of your Jeeps, and then they got into a bust up, and he lost his eye. But I think it's a much better story, and sometimes the story is better than the real thing. That's the whole point of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, right? So I think the story should be that a jackrabbit jumped through the windshield and got his eye, because that's very Monty Python and like a really badass story. So I like to perpetuate that that's really what happened, even though it's a tall tale. Anyways, back to Raoul Walsh. This was Gun Fury. It's from 1953. It was supposed to be in 3D, which I did not know going in, but now explains some of the hokey parts. Like there's a buzzard that comes right kind of at you, and there's a shot that's got rear projection, and the villain like throwing a rock at Rock Hudson, and so that's a little explains some of those moments. It also starred Donna Reed. Now Donna Reed. This was the same year she won her Oscar for From Here to Eternity, and I gotta say, she was not really given much to do in this film. She looked very nice, though. And then the villains are, or the main villain is Philip Carey, but you also have Lee Marvin in a very supporting Lee Marvin role. Like, Lee Marvin in the 50s, he's always like a heavy, and he's always the heavy that's way more interesting than the actual villain, which is why in the 60s you ended up with Lee Marvin being like the most badass, quirky lead guy, because he built a career. Like, it's kind of funny because most people who started out like Lee Marvin would have stayed like what's his name? Oh my god, from the Maltese Falcon with the eyes. Something Junior. But you know, like most supporting characters end up doing like 50, or like Walter Brennan. They do like 50 years of supporting roles, right? Alicia Cook Jr., that's who I was thinking of. You know, and they're the quirky supporting guy that you love for years and years and years. And Lee Marvin started out like that, and then somehow in the 50s during the like that, or the 60s, that like era of the anti-hero, like the rise of the anti-hero, is how Lee Marvin shifted from being the interesting heavy to being the interesting anti-hero lead. That is a total aside. He plays a character called Blinky in this movie. Like, you should look at some of his character names, especially in his 50s part of his filmography. He had some whoppers of character names. Neville Brand is also in it, and Leo Gordon, who plays originally a bad guy, but then a collaborator with Rock Hudson. The plot of the film is that Philip Carey and Leo Gordon are two leaders from the South who the war is not over for them, and so they're still pissed that they lost, and so they just rob people because that's how you make up for losing stuff. And Rock Hudson is a Southerner who is finally being reunited with his longtime fiancée, Donna Reed. They're going to go to California, the Promised Land. They're meeting in Arizona. Unfortunately, they end up on the same stagecoach as these two dudes. Rock Hudson tries to be a hero, gets separated. Philip Carey decides to steal Donna Reed and go off with the gold and her and his band of villains to Mexico. Rock Hudson, being Rock Hudson, does not die and ends up partnering with a Native American whose sister was taken, raped, and then left for dead by this guy. And they, plus Leo Gordon, who's trying to save Donna Reed because he thinks women are pointless and like this is supposed to be about gold. And so the three of them band together to try to save Donna Reed and kill this dude because he's just such an asshole. And then stuff happens. And then eventually they find Philip Carey's other lady, played by Roberta Haynes. She's a Mexican woman who he keeps as a side chick whenever his main ladies aren't around. And she's just super pissed about this. And so he's got 4 people who want to kill him. And they're all going after him. And no one gives a shit about the gold. They have all this gold. No one cares. It's all about killing this guy, saving Donna Reed. That's it. And it's really fun. It's beautifully shot in Technicolor. Some of the day for night shots are just beautiful. Everybody in it is just giving stellar performances. I'm going to spoil the ending. So if you don't want to hear the ending, stop watching. But so there's this scene where Roberta Haynes is basically telling Rock Hudson, Leo Gordon thinks he's going to kill him, and the Native American guy, his name is Johash, thinks he's going to kill him, and she's just like, I'm going to kill him, bitch. I'm going to kill him. And Rock Hudson's like, is that going to make you feel better? And it's like, you're going to ask that to the dudes if it's going to make them feel better? Women have fury too, man. Women have fury too. So I was thinking she was going to kill him. And he was really excited. And then she kind of gets in her own way. And then during the final battle, Rock Hudson is, going to kill him. But then he loses his gun. And then Philip Carey doing the villain thing is like, oh, you should just shot me. And he's talking instead of shooting Rock Hudson. And then he gets a knife in the back. And because earlier in the film, Roberta Haynes threw a knife at Lee Marvin and almost got him right there, I was like, oh my God, she did it. She killed him. I was really excited. And then it turns out it's the Native American guy that kills him. Now that's progressive because the hero of the film, Rock Hudson, is saved by a Native American. That's great. That's great. This is a whole film where you're not seeing the Native Americans as villains. You're seeing them as victims, just like all of the other white settlers that are being ravaged by this guy. And that's progressive and that's great, but I really, really, really wanted to see the woman kill him. Really wanted it, and it's not what I got. Also, surprisingly, so this is the guy who kills the villain. It's played by Pat Hogan. Kills the villain. Not credited. Uncredited role because you don't credit, the guy playing the Native American, even though he has more lines than half the people that are credited. 1953. So this is a very interesting film. I'm willing to bet every year in LA they do a 3D weekend at the Egyptian. I'm willing to bet they've shown this, and I would have loved to have seen this in 3D and actually see Philip Carey throwing a rock at me and things like that, and the buzzard. I bet it's fun. This is a great film. I think you should watch it, not just if you're a Western fan, but just in general. And you should be a Raoul Walsh completist. He made 130 films, and I've seen 15. But I keep trying. He's one of my favorite directors. And Rock Hudson is just so amazing. I'm so glad that I am squarely on the Rock Hudson bandwagon now. So this was my Sunday morning Western. Again, it was Gun Fury from 1953. You can rent it on Amazon. You can probably rent it at your local video rental store, hopefully, especially if you live in a place where you have a cool video rental store. If you're in Los Angeles, there's Vidiots and there's Cinephile. If you're in New York, I'm sure there's a bunch. I don't know any of the names of them. If you're in Seattle, you can go to Scarecrow. And I think if you live in any of those markets and you have a video rental store, you should rent from there. And I'm really bummed that I didn't rent this from the video rental store, and I'm going to get back to going to Videodrome because I don't want it to close. Sadly, I've driven by Summer Nights, which is is it Summer Nights? It's the something Nights, Southern Nights. It's the porno rental store here in Atlanta, and there's always cars there. There's always cars there. There's people renting porn all the time. But every time I drive by Videodrome, there's like maybe one car. This is the Bible Belt. There should be people renting not porn. There should be people renting, things from Videodrome. Anyways, I've had too much coffee, so I'm going to go eat some lunch. I'm going to see Eve 6 tonight because it's actually 1998. I'm very excited. This was Raoul Walsh's Gun Fury. Have a good Sunday.